What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Hungover podcast, episode 141. I'm one of your hosts, Julien, alongside... Oh, wait. Is that Yvonne? I can't hear you, man. Can you turn up your mic? Oh, no. Oh, it's because you're not there. You've left me. You've left me to do a solo podcast, you jackass. Yes, that's right. Yvonne is not here this week, and I fear he won't be here for the next 2 weeks. Yvonne is in the process of changing job locations at the very least. I don't have any details. He's just like, oh, I got a new job. I'm moving to New Orleans. That's it. So I guess Yvonne is moving to New Orleans right now. That's actually all the information I have. And he's still working in the film industry, which is super cool. It's what he wants to do. I wish him all the best, and wish him all the best with his move down south. Of course, he's moving from Syracuse to New Orleans. I say a welcome change for him. Definitely. He loves the South. I love the South in terms of culture and things like that. It's also a welcomed get the fuck out of Syracuse, my friend. Jesus Christ, that city. Oh. We went to college there, and let me tell you, it was fine for college. I think it's certainly a college town. I think it's a time. This is a step in Yvonne's life that is definitely a really good thing for him. I think that New Orleans is gonna definitely make a huge change in his life. It's a great city. It's not just a college town, and there's a lot more things to do in it. So I'm really happy for him, and I wish him all the best. Of course, as the saying goes, moving down the street and moving across the country is the same process. So I hope he can move quickly and safely, and nothing breaks and nothing gets lost. Of course, something always gets lost when you move, but it won't be easy. I don't know how many people he's moving with. I don't know what's going on. So we'll get more updates throughout the week, I assume, and maybe I'll have some more to report on next week. But I'll just do this whole segment. Essentially, what I wanted to do with these solo pods is pick a couple news topics. Not just one topic like we usually do, and talk about them. So I've picked a couple news topics for myself that I found interesting, particularly the COVID-19 vaccination. I know it's old news now. Everything that we talk about is old news, but that's just how it is. We like to let news topics roll out, and so we can have a better understanding of them before we talk about them. I want to talk about mRNA vaccines. I would like to talk about PlayStation. Sony purchased the largest fighting game tournament of the year, every year, EVO. That's super important news to me. I have a lot of things to say about that. I also wanted to talk about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. I thought that was an interesting topic. We'll get into that later. And of course, the Microsoft acquisition of ZeniMax, which is the parent company of Bethesda Studios, which is also an interesting topic to talk about. As we, go on, I'm going to be drinking my tea because it is the morning. But I hope this podcast finds you all well, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Anyways, I guess we should still do our patented opening segment where we talk about what we've been getting into throughout the week. And, of course, what I drank last night. So, for me, I know, Yvonne, you're just such a great listener. Thank you so much for listening to me over there. Of course, this is all related to the video podcast. It's just a funny photo I put up for him of him. It's such a shitty photo. So don't forget to watch our YouTube video. Please watch our YouTube videos. The only reason I'm doing this is because we have seen some actual growth in our subscriber numbers for whatever reason. It's not like our viewership's gone up. It's just that our subscribers are going up. I don't know why. Thank you for subscribing to this YouTube channel, and please continue to do so. You can do that at youtube.com/hungovergaming. But for me, I've been getting into some Bravely Default 2. I've been grinding it out. I got up to this boss in the game. His name is Prince Castor. He's one of the first or second big bosses of the game, and the first time I fought him, he just utterly destroyed me, and it's because he used the Berserk status, which actually increases your physical attack by 50% and actually decreases your defense by 30% and only allows you to attack for the next 3 turns. I had a vague understanding of that from prior video games in the Final Fantasy series, and I saw that he was clearly berserked, but I didn't know how to stop this, so I was just completely and utterly destroyed. I also didn't know that he has a trigger warning. If you default, he just completely destroys you, basically. So essentially, I had to look it up, but I decided that I just wanted to grind. I needed to grind out the battle, so I ended up grinding for like the next week. And oh my god, when I went up to fight him, there were 2 or 3 strategies I employed. You can freeze him. You can also cast a spell that heals Berserk. So, like, lo and behold, I was already the correct level, most likely, when I first fought him. But if I just had those 2 things, it was going to be so easy. So I had casted freeze on him, and he didn't attack me for the rest of the fight. So it was, like, too easy. But that's my 2 cents on that game. If you just use the right strategy, you'll be fine. It's a pretty cool game in that it's not just straightforward, just attack, or you cast magic on this turn. You have to use some strategy in order to do so. Now, what else? I have also been working very hard because my boss is always at my job, it's so annoying, right? If you take off a day, 2 days, I mean, there's only 18 employees in my company. If you take off, I had to take off 2 days to get my second COVID vaccine shot. And this will be a nice segue into our first topic of the show. But I took my COVID vaccine shot. We'll get into that. But it's so annoying, my job. It's like, I have to, when I take time off, the next week, or when I come back, I took 2 days off in a row, right? I took Sunday and Monday off, but my weekends are usually Tuesday and Wednesday. So rather than give me 4 days off in a row, they give me 2 days off in a row, make me work 7 days in a row, and then give me my weekend back. So that's really annoying. I'm currently going through that whole 7-day week right now. I've reached Saturday because I'm recording this on the 20. Oh shit, 320. That's not 420. I thought it was. That's what I was just thinking. Anyways, yeah, so I got my COVID vaccine shot, and on Sunday, Saturday night, I had a great night with my girlfriend. We went out to a bar. Holy crap! What is that? We managed to find a bar in our neighborhood. I believe in New York City, all bars must shut down at 11 p.m., which is not normally the case. They usually shut down sometimes they never shut down, but they usually shut down around 4 or 2 a.m. if no one's there, but 4 a.m. if people are there, that type of situation. But I believe there's a curfew in place for all bars just because of, there's a pandemic going on. And yeah, so I believe that's how that went down. We found a nice bar. There were some rowdy boys there, rowdy Brooklyners. some would call them people from Bay Ridge. I have no other way to describe them. They just seem like super loud. They're no harm to anyone. They were just really loud people. It was funny. It was actually a nice change of pace in my line of work. But I have to say, it was a lot of fun. We had a couple beers, and then we had, I believe, it is a cocktail bar too. It's like, wow, in our neighborhood, this is amazing. We got to come back. So if you're ever in Sunset Park, go check out Minnie's Bar. It's a really great place. It's actually very well decorated and looks like a very divey bar from the outside, but it's very nice on the inside. So go check it out. Really great bartender, and great drinks. Good beers on tap too. Sponsor the podcast. This is a Hungover podcast, by the way. You can definitely sponsor us if you want. We'll take any sponsorship. Anyways, so we went home and watched The Dark Knight. Finally, because it was still, we missed it on my birthday because my girlfriend made me cook us all dinner. I'm like, come on, Nikki, I have to cook me dinner for my birthday? Come on. God damn. What the hell is this crap? Yeah, that's standard fare for me. I love cooking, don't get me wrong. And I probably wouldn't rather do anything than cook on my birthday, but it better be a nice meal. It was a nice meal. But yeah, and then on Tuesday, my weekend after my weekend is Tuesday, Wednesday. My birthday was on Sunday. I did a great stream, which we already talked about. So that's why I couldn't watch The Dark Knight, which I wanted to do in solitude, like Ron Swanson from Arrested Development, from Parks and Rec, where he watches Bridge on the River Kwai, has a steak dinner with some whiskey or scotch, I can't remember, and he's like, please leave me alone. That's what I wanted to do with The Dark Knight. Have a nice big old fat ribeye, nice whiskey, and The Dark Knight in 4K Ultra Blu-ray. But either way, I got to watch The Dark Knight in 4K Ultra Blu-ray, a little drunk, and I was happy. Finally at peace. But the next day, I had to get my COVID-19 vaccination. Oh, let me tell you, I got another story too. I'm trying to fill some airtime here. All right, I thought this was going to be a 30-minute video, but whatever. Here we go. As the viewers, dedicated viewers of the podcast might know, we moved, and Nikki and I moved. I mean, we moved like a year ago, or 2 years ago. Year ago, 2019 we moved. The end of August 2019, so that's a year and a half ago. So we moved to a place that has outdoor space. That's why we wanted to move there. So we had these grandis, I don't know the saying, but we had these really big anticipation of us being really good gardeners. And we tried last year. We did all right for ourselves. We got a lot of peppers, jalapenos and cayenne peppers. I grew some ginger. I put a ginger root that I bought from the store into some soil, and it grew like crazy. And we had pretty middling results with our tomatoes. But I'll tell you, here's how it goes. Excuse me. I'll tell you, we also planted a pineapple and an avocado, which are still growing to this day. We've saved them from the freezing, frigid temperatures in New York City and put them in our bathroom, which is apparently a greenhouse. And they're growing like crazy. It's great news. So I decided to gear up right before my vaccination because I knew it was going to be destroyed. And I decided to go to Home Depot, get some soil and a nice planter. and push it all the way back to home because I can't drive because I'm a New York City boy. I've never learned to drive. And we certainly don't have a car. So I walk to Home Depot, pick up stuff, and walk back. It's like a nice 15-minute walk. It's not too bad. But when you're coming back with soil, it might be a little more difficult. So I only took what I could carry. I have a little hand truck. And so here's how it goes, right? The gardening section is outside for Home Depot. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'll just go pick up all the stuff I want, check out, because there's a cash register there too. No one's at the cash register. And it's a bunch of big old boys moving stuff and restocking stuff because, it's March. It's almost the end of March now. It's time to gear up for gardening if you're a pro gardener like me. Sponsor the podcast, Gardeners Association of America. That would be cool. Anyways, so I pick up all the soil, put it on the thing, and I push it over to the register. I start standing there, and the guys just completely ignore me. I mean, I'm not saying that the stock guy is qualified to run the register, but I don't know how that works. So I essentially just, I don't know. I kind of just walked out of there with 6 bags of soil because I didn't want to wait. Look, my money's good here. I got plenty of money to pay for this soil, but I don't have the time. I gotta move, buddy. And I did not walk 15 minutes to Home Depot to not get my soil. All right? So I gotta move. I got a COVID-19 vaccination to make. All right? So I kept walking. I walked through the parking lot. No one gave me any trouble. If they did, I'd be perfectly happy to pay. All right? This is not stealing for any, monetary reason. It's not stealing out of spite. I stole because I had to. I had to make my vaccination. All right, people? So, and I'm not stealing from a from a small mom and pop shop. This is Home Depot, man. This is a multi-million-dollar company. I stole dirt from them. That's all it is. All right? So sometimes you gotta just walk out. All right? Sometimes you just gotta storm out. And if I can't go back, guess what? I was wearing a mask. They can't track me on the camera. It doesn't matter. I was wearing a mask the whole time. So I think I made it out like a bandit. I'll have to say, and if no one listens to this part of the podcast, thank God, because I don't think anyone should listen to this part of the podcast. I admitted to a crime. Anyways, come at me, Home Depot. Fight me. Anyways, I got the vaccination after later that day, and I'm feeling like $100. I walk into the vaccination site. Bingo, bango, bongo. Easy stuff. There was no line. Surprise, in New York City, there's always a line no matter what you're waiting for. And it was a really easy process. They set up let's see. It was a retail space, I believe, in just some building in New York City, but it was unfinished, so it was just raw, untreated concrete, or just exposed concrete. That's the word. And so it looked kind of weird, but I see them all the time in New York City, right? It's especially now because no one's using a retail space or new retail space. You're not trying to start a new retail place. So they just set it up. They have all anticipation of lines, but there was no line. I just walked in. I answered a couple questions to the lady with the iPad outdoors, and she's like, "All right, go in." And then this nice Jewish man gave me a shot, and was like, "All right, go into the waiting room." Waited there for 15 minutes. Tweeted out I got the shot. They gave me a sticker, very nice, and I was out of there. It was a 30-minute process, including the 15-minute wait time, and that was nice. That's how modern medicine should be administered, by the government. That's efficiency. Let's go. If this is how it's actually working out the rest in the rest of America, I implore you to go get a vaccination. It is not scary at all. It's very easy to do. You just set it. I hope it's easy for you guys to set up a vaccination appointment in your areas, because I used the New York City vaccination website. It was very simple. I only had to answer a couple questions, answer a little bit of information, and bingo, I was there. And of course, Joe Biden, Joseph R. Biden, the new president of America, decided that all adults in May are eligible to get a vaccination. They don't have to be essential workers like me. So I hope everyone out there is staying safe and ready to go. But this obviously leads us into our topic of the show. One of them, anyways. The first topic. Let's switch over to this one. This is my streaming overlay, as you can see. I probably should have changed that. But thanks for everyone who comes out to my streams. You can check me out at twitch.tv/JujuBeesGood, of course. And of course, this is immediately irrelevant to anyone who is listening to the podcast on the phone. But I just wanted to take a little look into mRNA vaccines. This is, of course, the CDC.gov website. Messenger RNA, mRNA vaccines, also called mRNA vaccines, are some of the first COVID-19 vaccinations authorized for use in the United States. So this has been authorized by the FDA through an emergency authorization. So obviously we're in a global pandemic, so that's why it was authorized. And for context, I got the Moderna vaccine. And I guess I wanted to talk about the side effects from the second shot. There are two administered shots. The first one a month prior to the second one, usually, in most cases. So the second shot I got on Sunday afternoon at 2:50, and I was feeling fine throughout the day. I cooked Nikki and I dinner. I had a great night. I was like, oh man, I got a Sunday off. I usually get Tuesdays and Wednesdays off for context. And I was like, oh, this is great. It's beautiful out. Oh, everything's so nice. Oh my God. Keep in mind, this is my second shot. The first shot, I had no side effects at all. So I'm staying up. I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch streamers. I'm going to chat in the chat. I'm going to watch YouTube videos. I got my 3 monitors set up, right? So I got streamer, video games, YouTube video. Let's go. I'm so hyped. This is everything I've always wanted in my life. And so at around midnight, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of tired. I should probably go to sleep. It's fine. So I go to sleep, and everything's fine. And I wake up at 5 a.m. because I gotta pee. Fine. As soon as I get to the bathroom, I start an intense shivers come down. And not because I was saying maybe because, when you take a pee, you're removing a large quantity of water from your body. That's warm water. So you actually do drop in temperature, probably a little bit. And I felt like I was in a refrigerator, but had been standing in that refrigerator for an hour. So I'm like, holy shit, I have to run back to my bed. Luckily, I've got blankets on hand, so I threw about 30 blankets on top of me. I'm still freezing cold. And mind you, I could tell that I knew that my house was not cold. It was maybe 50, 60 degrees out. It was a nice day, the day prior and the day coming. So I'm like, what the hell? I'm so cold. It was rough. So I was shivering until the morning, at which point I woke up with a fever. So I had a headache, I had a fever. I tried to move, everything started aching. Of course, my left arm was very sore, but that's common for the vaccine. The first shot, it was the same way. My left arm was sore, sure. But that's it. So I was essentially very cold and very hot at the same time, and achy all over, very sore all over, as if I had just worked out at the gym, but not that sort of sore, like a flu type soreness. And that's not a fun soreness, I'll tell you that much. So the next thing I did was move to the couch. I'm like, oh, I'll play video games all day. I can do that. I couldn't even muster up enough strength to do that. So I just laid down on the couch for 3 hours and tried to go to sleep. I couldn't sleep though, mostly because the cats were bothering me, but I couldn't sleep at all. And I'll tell you, it was kind of miserable. It was miserable for an entire day. By the time I had a fever for the majority of the day, I was cold. The shivers went away by the midday, and then when I finally went to sleep that night and woke up the next morning, I felt fine. So it's a day of being absolutely miserable. Keep in mind, I got the Moderna vaccine. I do hear the Pfizer vaccine is a little bit less intense in terms of the amount of cases that have side effects there are. And mind you, I don't have a PhD in biology. I actually have a PhD in chemistry. So I'd like to talk about this a little bit. I mean, just a tad bit. We'll only go in a little bit. So keep in mind, this is an emergency authorization of this vaccine. So there isn't actually any long-term data. Of course, mRNA vaccines have been studied for decades. They've been studied for a long time because it's just a different form of vaccine. Usually a vaccine, the way it works, I'm sure you guys know, is they inject you with a small amount, weakened or inactivated germ into your body, and your body just slowly builds up an immune response to that. It's basically trained to have an immune response to this the next time that comes into your body, and then you're immune from that for the rest of your life, ideally, usually. But when it comes to flus, the flu vaccine there's different strains of the flu all the time, every year. So that's why you get a shot every year. But for something like measles, mumps, and rubella, MMR, you only need to get that once. Or I believe it's a 2-dose shot, perhaps, I don't know. And I can't remember, I got it so long ago. Because that's how vaccines work. That's how they should work. Polio wasn't a thing ever, except I believe there was one case recently and came back or something, and we got rid of that because of modern medicine. So the way mRNA vaccines work is they essentially, according to CDC here, is they teach our cells how to make a protein, or even just a piece of the protein that triggers the immune response. So they're injecting mRNA, which is the messenger RNA, which is the part of the molecule that goes onto your DNA and basically replicates part of your DNA in order to, as far as I remember from my biology classes, it replicates part of your DNA in order to make proteins, right? The mRNA is your DNA contains a whole bunch of information onto how to make proteins, essentially. That's what DNA does. It's all your genetic information. But mRNA latches onto that, replicates part of it. But because this is mRNA that you don't have, it's essentially telling your body to do something it's not used to doing. Or it didn't have the ability to do before. So it didn't have the ability to make this protein. But this protein happens to be part of I believe the virus, if I'm not mistaken. So the way it works is it triggers that response in your body to make a protein, which is essentially making this virus inside your body, and then your body is smart enough, your immune cells are smart enough to destroy that protein. Okay, so here's how it is. The spike protein. The spike protein is found on the surface of the virus that causes COVID-19. So it's part of the COVID-19 virus. So this is a pretty cool thing. Again, there's no long-term data, so it's not necessarily 100% set in stone that this vaccine will be 100% efficient forever. However, it has shown the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines have shown, I believe, upwards of 95% efficiency in all trials that they had for COVID-19 trials, and so it's better than nothing, and I highly implore you guys to go get your vaccination as soon as possible. Even if this doesn't last forever, right? Let's say it lasts for 6 months. I don't think we even have that data yet, but I think we're close to it. So even if it lasts for 6 months, if everyone gets it, then that's 6 months of no COVID-19 related problems, and that's worth it. That's worth it on its own, I say. And then that means that maybe we'll end up building up immunity, and it could end up getting rid of it anyways. So that's cool. So I highly suggest that you get this vaccine. Don't be afraid. Don't listen to these fucking right-wing media people who are trying to question this vaccine. This is science, guys. This is it. There's a reason why it was authorized. There's an emergency going on. We need to take care of this, and if it means just being sick for one day on purpose, then you should go do it. Next up, I wanted to talk about... We're gonna switch gears here. We're going into Evo. What's up, guys? This is another article by Matt TM Kim on IGN, the Imagine Game Network. I don't know what IGN stands for anymore, but they're the hugest gaming website in the world. Evo Championship Series has been purchased by Sony Interactive Entertainment, SIE. I can't believe it. So Evo Championship Series is, it is the hypest video game tournament of the year for me, because it's a fighting game tournament. So if you don't know, we did a whole series on it, I believe in 2018, on our gaming YouTube channel, Hungover Gaming. You can go check out. But it's the same podcast, the same YouTube channel this podcast uploaded to. But we did a whole series on it. It's one of the coolest video game tournaments, I think, personally, because it's a fighting game tournament that encompasses a lot of different fighting games. I think it's super cool. But it was, the cool thing about it was that anyone could enter. So it's not just relegated to these sponsored professional players who are the best at their game that they play, like say Overwatch League, right? It really ties into the grassroots of the fighting game community, which is all about building yourself up, starting from the bottom, and just building your way up through perseverance and training, and the whole point of fighting games is like you get good at what you do or you don't, and that's it. And you can only blame yourself because it's a one-on-one game, even unless you're playing Marvel vs. Capcom, in which case it's a 3v3, but you're controlling each character. Or I guess the one team event sport is doubles in Smash Bros, but this actually ties into this story. So, where you play with a teammate in doubles Smash Bros. So I think that the Evolution Championship Series is one of the coolest things. And I used to watch. I watched it every year. It was the coolest thing for me. So I would always watch the top eights. The top eights were always super cool. They managed to get it's usually in Las Vegas now, or it was for a couple years in a row, which is so cool. Like, they got enough sponsorship to rent out the Mandalay Bay. Holy crap, that's where boxers fight. It's crazy. So many people come to watch. Everyone's super excited. They usually have some gaming announcements there. It's really cool. But essentially, as the story goes, Sony purchased Evo, and this is off the heels of last year, where Evo was canceled, obviously for COVID-19 related things, but also because I believe the owner of the Evo company was accused of sexual harassment, if I'm not mistaken. I'm surprised that's not outlined in this. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, Joey. Yeah, okay, sorry, here. Yes, abuse allegations. So 2020's Evo Online event was canceled following abuse allegations against Evo organizer Joey Queller. Another Realm and Capcom pulled out. Yeah, everyone ended. All the companies that make fighting games, like NetherRealm, Capcom, ended up pulling out. Nintendo, they didn't want to be part of it. Yeah, so that's cool. Great. So it looked like Evo was in a bad spot, but it looks like now, and it looked like it wasn't going to happen this year, even an online event, which is what a lot of fighting games have been doing. But now Sony has purchased it, and that means that there's actually going to be a lot of money on the line for these fighting game players, which is great. They said that they're going to have Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5 Championship Edition, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, and Guilty Gear Strive. And it's going to be held between August 6th and 8th, and then August 13th and 15th. So it looks like that's 1, 2, 3, 4 games. Fine. They usually have a lot of other games held. For instance, Super Smash Bros. Is typically the only game that's not playable on a PlayStation system, and Xbox for that matter. So Smash Bros. They just kicked out Melee, which had seen, I think, a 9-year run at Evo, and for Ultimate, which of course is the newest Smash Bros. Game. And I think the most important thing is that Nintendo issued a statement saying Nintendo has enjoyed engaging with fans at past Evo tournaments and wish the show organizers the best with their new venture. We will continue to assess Evo and other opportunities as we plan for future online and offline Super Smash Bros. Tournament activity, a spokesperson for Nintendo said. So that's a little bad. I mean, it's not necessarily Nintendo's fault. If Sony, their competitor, purchases a tournament that they didn't really have any stake in at all, or anything that they really cared about, Nintendo doesn't, as it seems, has been sort of fighting back against the Smash community for a long time, and their tournaments that they organize themselves. It seems like Nintendo doesn't want any part of this. They seem to try to be very secular and singular of a company, and they don't really like this. So I think this does mean that Super Smash Bros. Will no longer be at Evo, so long as Sony owns Evo. And I don't like that at all. I really did love the competitive Smash scene. As much as I hate playing Smash Ultimate online, I do really like watching the competitive scene. I think not this past year because it's all been online, but it's just a really exciting game to watch. So and of course there's all the cool characters and I love the game, but it's like, and it's also a huge part of me growing up. I loved Melee growing up in Smash 64. So I think it was one of the most entertaining games at Evo. It also happened to bring some of the most entrants at Evo, and also the most viewership. So it's gonna be a huge detraction from the viewership of Evo. And of course the whole argument goes, like, is it even a fighting game? And I don't know. It doesn't matter. You have two people competing in a one-on-one game, and I think and every aspect of fighting games sort of, at least the mentality and how you approach your opponent sort of do apply to the game. So I think it is a fighting game in that respect. It's just a different way of knocking your opponent out. You literally have to knock them off the screen. So I think it is a fighting game, but you can fight me in the comment section below about that. But I mean, I'm super excited to see Tekken 7 still. Maybe, and Guilty Gear Strive. If those are the two I watch, those are the two I watch. I personally don't think that it'll be... I think these online events are not nearly as exciting because you don't get the pop-offs, you don't get the crowd engagement, you don't get any of that. And it's unfortunate that this is how it has to be. I'm not saying that it's their fault that it has to be online, but it probably saves them a lot of money, I'll tell you that much. And they're going to make just the same amount of money, so kudos for them. I'm glad that Sony purchased it. I think actually Microsoft purchasing Evo might have been better because maybe Nintendo would stay in. I know Sony and Nintendo are not friends, but Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo seem to be better friends, at least, than Sony and Nintendo. So I'll be following this story in the future. I hope we find out some more news soon. Moving on to more video game news, we have the Microsoft purchase. Who's this guy? Anyways, another IGN article. Matt TM Kim, I guess that's him. Another video game article on IGN. Microsoft's $7.5 billion acquisition of ZeniMax Media, the parent company of developers like Bethesda, Arcane, id Software, and more, has been finalized. So, officially, Microsoft owns Bethesda. Bethesda Game Studios company makes games like Fallout, Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls, Fallout games, and who cares about the other games? No, they also make Wolfenstein and I believe Doom, if I'm not mistaken, which is cool. I'm not sure on Doom. I don't really have any stake in this, but I think it's a big acquisition regardless, because one, it was $7.5 billion. I think that they overpaid there. $1 billion? It's a lot of money. I mean, Microsoft has that kind of money to throw around. Just look at Bill Gates, but goddamn. Anyways, I think that's crazy. It's also a huge game publisher, independent game publisher. Bethesda was essentially so big that they reserved time at E3, which is the biggest video gaming conference of all time per year, annually. They reserved time at E3 for the past couple of years to talk about their games. And even though the last time they had an in-person E3, they didn't really announce much. And they haven't really been announcing much for the past couple of years. I honestly think the last great Bethesda game was Skyrim, IMHO. I didn't really like Fallout 4, even though I beat it. And I didn't have that much fun playing it. I like Fallout 3 a lot. Skyrim, obviously one of the greatest games of all time. It's a great game. So let's take a look at which studios are involved, because Microsoft's purchase of this company is probably, I don't know what else ZeniMax does, but it's probably the largest direct impact that we'll see is we'll see Microsoft using these studios to make video games. I don't really know what else ZeniMax does, but Alpha Dog Games, Arcane Studios, including offices in Lyon, France, and Austin, Texas. Bethesda Softworks, which is in Maryland. I think Bethesda, Maryland. They also have Bethesda Game Studios in Austin, Bethesda Game Studios in Dallas, and Bethesda Game Studios in Montreal. id Software, yeah, I think id Software makes Doom. Includes offices in Richardson, Texas, and Frankfurt, Germany, Machine Games, Roadhouse Studios, Tango Gameworks, and ZeniMax Online Studios. So that's what Microsoft has purchased for $7.6 billion. I'm sure Bethesda's very happy about this purchase, or ZeniMax Studio, because they get a lot of money. But I guess the conversation is about the exclusivity of these games now. So prior to the acquisition here, in Xbox Wire, Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox Game Studios, I believe, says that now that everything is official, we can begin working together to deliver more great games to everyone. And essentially, the conversation is, again, around exclusivity, because Microsoft hasn't really been in the game of having exclusives recently, of the past almost decade now, right? We've been talking about, or even honestly further back, go back to the 360 years, right? You had Halo, you had Gears, and then you had Forza, and those were the three big tentpoles of the Xbox ecosystem. Otherwise, every other game was essentially on PlayStation. So, but don't get me wrong, I loved Halo 3, and it was worth owning an Xbox for. But all the other games were on PlayStation. But now they've sort of evolved into this company that has the Xbox Game Pass, which allows players to play all their games for $10 a month, a lot of their games. Certainly the idea is that all the first-party games now that Microsoft owns, which include Bethesda games, by the way, are going to be on Xbox Game Pass. So that's really cool. You can play all these games for $10 a month. But everyone's afraid of all these future Bethesda games not coming to PlayStation now. I think you guys need to take a step back and realize that Bethesda hasn't released anything good in pretty much over a decade. And I think people who are, in my honest opinion, so if people who are worried about that, I think you should realize that Bethesda hasn't done anything of real significance since Skyrim. My honest opinion. So let's take a look at what Phil Spencer said, or Pete Hines. So in a separate blog post, Bethesda's Pete Hines wrote, "We're not making any landmark announcements to changes right now, but added that we'll be working on putting even more of our games into Game Pass than ever before." So that's really good news for people who like Bethesda games. So Spencer did make one major point clearing up some of the speculation around whether Bethesda games would be exclusive to Xbox. With the addition of the Bethesda creative teams, gamers should know that Xbox consoles, PC, and Game Pass will be the best place to experience new Bethesda games, including some new titles in the future that will be exclusive to Xbox and PC players. Bingo. So they're going to basically make some of these games exclusive, I would say. The new games. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I mean, they spent a lot of money for a reason. So I don't really like the idea of exclusivity. It does seem like Microsoft is buying their way into exclusivity, but as you may remember, I mean, it's just been this way for a while, but Sony did the same thing. They purchased a lot of studios, and Nintendo did the same thing, I'm sure. Just we don't hear too much about it because it's so long ago. And now we just are ingrained in our mind that Sony has all these studios like Sucker Punch and Naughty Dog and all these great gaming studios, and they've made such great games for PlayStation, and they have, don't get me wrong. But it's like that's part of Sony now, and not big boy Microsoft, who's just buying their way into this. But You know what? I mean, how else do you get exclusive games? I think you have to make these big money deals in order to get these exclusive games. Otherwise, why wouldn't a developer put their game out on every platform that they can? So I think it's good for Microsoft and Microsoft fans, but I honestly don't really care too much. They have to show me a game, like, everyone's very excited for this game Starfield and the next Elder Scrolls game, but honestly, and they have the right to be, of course. The last Elder Scrolls game was amazing. Skyrim was great, but you essentially just have logos at this point, and I don't know. I don't know. You gotta show me something for me to be excited about a video game. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. That's all the updates we have on this now. Of course, I think we're gonna come out and see that some of the games, it is going to be a case-by-case basis. Some of the games, like Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop, are going to be on PlayStation. They've already been announced. Deathloop's coming out this year, which is cool. And I think going forward after those games, they're probably just going to be exclusive. That's just my opinion. But that's why you have a PC player situation here. At the very least, Microsoft lets PC players play their Xbox games. I wish Sony did the same thing. And honestly, I wish Nintendo did too. But you can't have everything, gamers. Just relax. It's not the most important information. I think that's probably the biggest thing happening in gaming right now. Moving on. We've got this. NFTs. Non-fungible tokens. Explained by CNN Business. So, I believe the biggest thing to come out of this is that last week, a piece of digital art sold for $69.3 million. NFTs have suddenly captured the world's attention. In the simplest terms, NFTs transform digital works of art and other collectibles into one-of-a-kind verifiable assets that are easy to trade on blockchain. So essentially, you can trace back the ownership of a piece of digital media or a digital file back to this owner, and that can be traded for tangible amounts of money. So I think this is kind of crazy that anyone... This is just the economy as a whole, right? I think it's kind of ridiculous that you would buy anything for that amount of money, that especially something digital. I think this is insane. Essentially, we've come into the... I wanted to talk about this with Yvonne, really, actually. I thought this was the next podcast topic for us, but he's not here anymore. Yvonne has left me. But this is essentially the file here. It's like, look, I have this photo now. I can right-click, save as image right now. And look, now I have the file, so I don't understand why you'd pay. I mean, okay. It's not high quality, but it's like now I own this. So I don't understand exactly. It's just so funny to me that someone would spend $69 million on this. But I mean, I get it, right? You really like this piece of art, and you've got $69 million burning a hole in your pocket. Okay, you want to spend that kind of money, go for it. Anyways, let's dive in a little bit more into it. Any digital image can be purchased as an NFT, but there are a few things to consider in buying one, especially if you're a newbie. You'll need to decide who wrote this, CNN. You'll need to decide what marketplace to buy from, what type of digital wallet is required, to store it and what kind of cryptocurrency you'll need to complete the sale. Oh, I didn't know you needed cryptocurrency to purchase these things. So this is essentially really rich people trying to throw their money wallets down on the table, just, you know, drop the, except you don't nearly have the same effect, dropping the gold sack on the table, like, I'll make this purchase right now, like in Pirates of the Caribbean or something. And except this is all digital, and it's just like the epitome of stupidity. I think this is the future, right? I think this is one step closer to us living in the cyberpunk world, right? It all connects back to cyberpunk. We're slowly taking steps to these types of things, right? I mean, transferable money has already been digital for a long time now. But now it can be used now money isn't even money anymore, right? It seems like people are getting so obsessed with cryptocurrencies, which, I mean, for good reason, right? They're making a lot of money off of it, but people are getting it, and then that obviously translates back into gaming, where we have this shortage of graphics cards and silicon and things, supply constraints related to processing them, because everyone's buying up graphics cards in order to make these huge rigs and daisy chain all their graphics cards together to mine cryptocurrency so they can make more money. But I think it's really boiling down to greed, right? Rich people just want to get richer, and they want to get richer fast. So this seems like, and it gives them a lot of power, right? I don't know. This is just me talking about capitalism essentially, but it's kind of sickening, I think. Anyway, let's take a look at it. A video clip of LeBron James slam dunk sold for over $200,000, and a decade-old Nyan cat GIF went for $600,000. It's like we're just making a mockery of things at this point. Like, oh, you just want to be able to brag about how you spent money on this. It's not even like how you need to understand what an NFT is. It's essentially a cryptic, a way of encrypting the ownership rights to these images and these videos. You can sell videos now, which is kind of ridiculous. Like I said, like we just literally went through the process. I right-clicked something, save as image here, and now I have a copy of it. So it's not like, so it is a little ridiculous. You're making a mockery of your own wealth, and I think that you have too much money that you're wasting, and you could be using it on something better. That's my opinion of this situation, and I'm kind of disgusted by it. But yeah, so it all ties together, ties in everything. It's crazy. This is a crazy world we're living in. I can't wait. I just want to live to the point where we are living in the cyberpunk world, and we are transferring money digitally to buy digital things and shit like that. My tea's gone cold. Let me put it that way. I think that's the end of the podcast, guys. I think Yvonne and I can have a better conversation than I just had about this, but it's what it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this solo pod. I appreciate everyone for listening. It'll be up on podcast services around the globe. And thank you so much for listening. I'll probably be back. Here, we'll go back to Yvonne's beautiful face. I'll probably be back next week with another solo pod. I'll try to find 4 more topics for you guys. And I'll be back next week. Don't get me wrong. I'm keeping this goddamn train going as long as I can. Yvonne, who knows? He's probably gonna, as usual, he's gonna take his fucking time. He probably won't be back for a month, so we'll try to do this as long as I see fit, until I give up. But thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Maybe Yvonne is listening to this himself, and I hope you are moving all right, buddy. I assume you're driving down, so you're gonna need something to listen to. Maybe you'll listen to the Hungover podcast, like everyone should. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you guys next week. Goodbye.